deliberately gone over the crosses at the end here.
Right.
It's all back to fun. So I've got an inch line that's visible. So I used to use a square-edged chisel, like that, a square-edged one. But the trouble, to get right in the corner, the trouble is that can dig quite, on the other corner, it can dig in too far.
Yeah.
So sometimes use, but generally now I use a small
Stubby.
scalpel that's slightly rounded.
Mm.
Because it's rounder, it doesn't make a sharp edge where it digs into the gesso.
Is that something you can buy, or did you do that
You just
yourself?
buy them in packets. Yeah.
Slightly rounded.
It's, what number is it? They come in numbers, these things. Anyway, it's about that size anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I get two, a bigger one, I'll show you what that's
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
and a smaller one, but it's a
That's
rounded
there.
edge one. Straight one is slightly rounded.
Yeah.
And these X-Acto knives are the best. You can get, of course, you get your scalpel holders, but they're designed for sort of delicate vertical cuts.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to be scraping sideways, and if you use a scalpel, normal scalpel holder, there's too much flex.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you put this down quite low into an X-Acto knife. Right? So it's
That
quite
X-Acto.
there's no flex now.
Exacto.
X-A-C-T-O. X-Acto. You can buy them in craft shops,
Yeah.
basically.
No. Yeah.
Sometimes you can buy a whole set with a big one and a smaller one plus the ends.
I think I might have
They're
a
good,
one.
actually.
Yeah.
So that is there, there's no flex in it. I've gone right in quite deep.
Mm-hmm.
You want to sharpen it, but what you want a sharp edge, but with a slight, I'll do a drawing,
Mm-hmm.
with a slight feather in the edge. So, this is your gesso. So you sharpen it, but you want it slightly bent over at the tip, so it's sort of scratching the surface off. It's not just a sharp point. So the simple way to do it, you sharpen it, and as you're pushing and sharpening, you're actually bending the end of the tool
Right.
up a bit.
Yep.
Normally you would turn it around and sharpen the other side to get rid of that. But you just sharpen one side only, and that creates a nice little burr, it's called, a burr. Yeah. So I'm a left-hander, so I would scrape that way. So I want the burr going this way, so I'm only going to sharpen that side. Okay, so you put in a flat surface, and use sandpaper, or you can use a sharpening stone. So if you run your finger over the edge like that, you can actually feel the
You can
burr.
feel it going.
Yeah. Cabinet scrapers use it. In the old days, instead of using sandpaper, they would have these metal squares, and they'd create a burr, and then they'd just drag it over the wood, and it creates a beautiful smooth surface. But it's the burr that actually does the work, that little.
The hook.
Yeah. So I've got this burr,
Okay.
so I'm going to sort of go in, and it's just the front edge that's cutting. So that's the cutter there, and so it's just the front sort of 2 millimeters that's actually in contact, that's going to be cutting the excess
Yeah.
gold off.
So the tip doesn't come in.
The safest thing is to gradually scratch up to the, scratch the gold behind where you want to end, and you gradually move forward. If you haven't sharpened this enough or got a good enough burr, you've got to press harder to get the gold off, and then you lose control. So you want your tool sharp, so the tool does most of the work. The less pressure you need to apply, the more control you've got.
There you go.
So you can see I'm just going, gradually started, I'll do the other side. So I started scratching a few millimetres away from the edge, and then gradually got closer until I'm up to the edge there. Now, because it's slightly curved, on the back side here, you haven't got a deep groove, so you're just creating a slightly scalloped feel. So you haven't got horrible grooves in your, you're not creating horrible grooves and hard lips on your gesso. You might need to sharpen it every 2 minutes. It's just, especially if you've got some excess bowl, which is quite hard compared to the gesso. You really need to have a sharp scalpel for that.
So the expectation is that you would take off a bit of gesso as well?
Well, you're going to take a little bit of the gesso off to get to the gold. There's no way you're going to scrape only the gold off and not the gesso.
Which grade sandpaper we
Hand that around. I'll hand this around and you just rub your finger like that. You'll feel what I mean. So keep it that way. There's no burn on that side, only on the top.
Did you say it was 600 sandpaper you were using?
Yeah. If it's too fine, you don't get that burn.
Right.
So that 600 is quite good. Can you feel that?
And you're using it like that?
If the burr's on the top of that,
Yeah.
you turn it around the other way.
Okay.
It's the burr that actually is in contact.
Okay.
If you're one side, you feel the top side, one side's got the burr. If that's the edge, you run your finger at right angles to